Hey, everybody. Welcome to Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Presumably, I'm live. I don't feel alive at the moment. This is maybe my least best organized stream of the year. Even less than the first one I ever did. Hey, John's Longbox. Hi, man. You recognize this, I'm sure. Yeah, like I couldn't decide how I wanted to set this up and get stuff right. And then I literally changed what I was doing like about a minute before I went on. So anyways, oh yeah. And you see Microtron too. Yeah. So what are we doing today? This is our last stream of this year. Next one will be in January. And so last week I did top new comic releases of 2025, just my opinion of those, which by the way, these not included because I hadn't gotten them yet. I think I might have gotten Heroic Tales like that day, so I hadn't gotten to read it yet. So these will be in the running for 2026. But I did that last week. This week I decided I'd go through toys that I picked up this year that were new. And I'll just kind of show off what came through the den and which ones I think were my favorites, which will maybe be a slight surprise. And then we got a few other topics to talk about, and I'll probably hit those first. So let's jump in on that. So, not a whole lot to talk about, honestly. I did see that Playmates, who has had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles license for 37 years, started back in 88, is losing that license in 2026. This is an old card from back in the day. That's kind of crazy. I mean, to have the license that long and then lose it. Now they've been producing some more collectible Turtles stuff lately. I don't know who's picking up the license. I don't think that's been announced yet. Playmates just made an announcement that they were losing it. So I don't know where it's going. I don't know. Maybe with McFarlane losing the DC license after 26. I don't know. Maybe he's in the hunt for something new. But so I don't know. Maybe the new Turtle stuff is not selling. That could be the problem. And they want to go in a different direction. No idea. The Turtles came a little bit late for me. I remember reading the comic, at least the first issue or so, because that was a big deal. But let's see, in 88, and I was just about in college. I was probably a freshman in college. Because I definitely remember there was a little comic shop across from the college way back when. And I do remember going over there and grabbing that book. It was like one of the, I don't know, like the 5th, 6th, 7th printing of the first book. So it wasn't brand new at that point, but I wanted to check it out. And I remember getting those Star Wars cards there when they started re-releasing Star Wars stuff. When Gen X started getting, anxious for more Star Wars. And, we all know how that ended up. So, but anyway, so they're losing that. They're losing their license on that one. I don't know where it's going, but I don't know. Maybe for collectors, it'll be a good thing. Maybe they'll get something interesting out of it. And I don't know if Playmates does every single bit of Turtles merch there is right now, or if they do shop it out. But there you go. It's just amazing though that we're 40, 50 years, like, and that's still some just top selling stuff. The staying power of the 80s. It was a definite peak in pop culture. I think, it just in terms of the shows, the movies, the music, it's really hung around, I think, longer than a lot of stuff has. Hey, Anton, what's cooking, man? All right, so there we go. Little sad news here too. Rest in peace to Brigitte Bardot. one of the early sex symbols. I don't even know if they were using that term yet. That seems like that was kind of the 70s when they started throwing that around, maybe. But one of the sex symbols of movies, got her career started in 1952. Just blew a lot of people's minds. And by people, I mean guys. And then she retired in the early 70s, which I think is kind of cool. Like, she did about 20 years of films, and she did music and things like that too. And then said, all right, well, we're out of there. And which is probably good, because just the movie business eats people alive and kind of destroys them. And then she went on to become an animal advocate and things like that. Very cool. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I've seen clips, but I don't know if I've ever sat and watched a full Brigitte Bardot film. And so I might need to dip in. But it also makes me think about how Hollywood at a certain point would, like Brigitte Bardot becomes big, and then they need more French actresses for American films. Like, we've got to find the next hot French actress. And they did that like with Italians, with Sophia Loren, Gina Lollobrigida. They did it with Swedes, Anita Ekberg. And then, it's like, it was a weird thing where it's like, oh, American men like women from a certain country, so we need to find more hot women from that country that we can use in our films, instead of just maybe guys just like, attractive women. And it really doesn't matter where they come from. But how Hollywood is, like, it's always some kind of a crazy trend. But rest in peace, Brigitte Bardot. I see Anton. The Playmates lost the license. I think they lost the license a while ago. It's very sad. Yeah, well, I don't know. It seems like they just put out the announcement. So I don't know. Maybe it had been sort of in the works for a while. Look, I'm sure the Turtles merchandise is still going to be coming, and it's not like, there's all sorts of Star Wars stuff, and Kenner ain't making it. So, I mean, people moved on. People moved on. Last time for children, they didn't even talk about him much on television. News, and that was about it. Who are we talking about? Gil Gerard, maybe? I'm not sure. Yeah, because last week we had Rob Reiner and Gil Gerard passed away, and Bob Burns, who played gorillas in a lot of things, but also has an amazing collection of movie memorabilia. Just incredible stuff that guy managed to preserve. And the last little newsy item, which is not really news per se, but in fact it is the birthday of Stan Lee, co-creator of so much enduring pop culture from the 60s and into the 70s. Amazing stuff. Just a key element of what made the Marvel Universe really, really, really cool. It had a certain look and feel to it. And obviously a lot of that came from Kirby and from Ditko. In terms of the look of things, but Marvel did their stories a bit different from DC. And if you look at the really early stuff, it's not radically different from Silver Age DC, but it moved in that direction as they sort of, found their creative voice in how they wanted to do things. They wanted to do things differently, and they did. And it's amazing how long that really lasted for those guys. I'd say it's probably the late 80s and into the 90s where you start to get some changes in things. But a lot of that stuff from the 90s was just wild, over-the-top mega action, which was really the Marvel way of doing things. So even then, it survived. Nowadays, obviously, DC and Marvel are doing, some kind of odd things. And I won't sit and criticize everything they're doing, because frankly, I don't buy it and I don't read it. But, from what I see, it's kind of like, okay, well, that's great. So there we go. That's about it I had for just newsy kind of stuff today. Thought I'd show off some new items in the den. Heroic Tales number 2, Wraith of God number 3. Let's take a look at Heroic Tales. Now, I went for the photo cover Heroic Tales because I love the photo covers. They did a few for Dazzler, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, got 'em. I know the New Warriors did one, like, God, it might have been the late 80s, 90s, maybe early 90s. They did one of those as well. I was thinking, I'm going, did they do any photo covers at DC? None of them come to mind. None of them come to mind if they did, but that was a Marvel thing. So John over at John's Long Box, the creator of this comic book, teased this image, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, dude. I hope he does that. And he did. And so we get Mary Sue on one side. We get the Patriarch on the other side. So what do we get in Heroic Tales number 2? And the first a couple opening pages, I got to be a little careful of, just because YouTube can be weird about things. But we're continuing the superheroic universe that he is creating here. And dude, it's just good superhero comics. I mean, it's as simple as that. The Patriarch is a very cool character. In the first issue, you learn a little bit about what his powers actually are. It's not just like, guy who's invulnerable with super strength and all that. It's sort of coming from his mind is how he does all of this cool stuff. And this one pits him against the Subterraneans. So kind of like a Mole Man concept, although, not exactly like that. Not exactly like that Mole Man that we deal with in Marvel. The guy he's got to deal with in this one is a little bit bigger than that. We get some very cool little cameos from other indie strips in this page. We got Horace H. Hoover. We got Wolf and Batsy, for example. He's like surrounded by all of these mushrooms and these fungus spores that are making him hallucinate. And then he has to deal with, see that whack right there? Yeah, that's the guy he's dealing with. It ain't the little mole man. It's something much, much worse. Oh, that kind of looks like one of those mole rats. At any rate, and all the little mushroom men. So he's got to go on a rescue mission and deal with that. It's good old fashioned comic book stuff, kind of like what you get with Genuine Comics and Perfect 10. There's a lot of stuff for all those folks out there who really just love old school superhero comics. There's some wonderful things out there. Hey, Babyface, is that your nanny? I love this. It's about growing beards to make yourself look more manly. So Mary Sue, this is a really interesting story. It starts right in the middle of this crisis. They have opened up this portal. And again, this feeds into the whole lore of this universe. But they've opened up this portal. Things are coming through it. We get some flashbacks to how we got to this point. And we got this hotshot little scientist, Mary Sue, who is caught up in all of this. And maybe as a result, she's going to have some super abilities. Very cool character. I like it. Of course, I love the name, playing off of the whole Mary Sue thing that we have going on in entertainment nowadays. For those who don't know, Mary Sue is a concept that actually began in the, I guess probably late 60s with Star Trek fandom. You had a lot of Star Trek zines out there, fanzines, and people would submit stories. And one of the women who produced one of these fanzines was complaining about a lot of stories that she got offered. And they involved a young woman, an ensign, being assigned to the Enterprise. And she shows up on the Enterprise, and all the men on the Enterprise fall in love with her. And she's so smart. She's about as smart as Spock, and she's as good a doctor as McCoy. And Kirk is just so impressed with her command abilities. And she referred to her as Mary Sue Ensign. And obviously, all of these were self-inserts by the writers, who were, younger women who were, very smitten with Star Trek and the characters on Star Trek. And so that's where the term Mary Sue came from. And it was basically, it's kind of come to mean a character who really doesn't have to face any kind of hardship. She's perfect right from the get-go. She never makes a mistake. Everybody loves her, that kind of a thing. So we're playing off of that concept here. This is, thankfully, Mary Sue is not a Mary Sue. She has some crazy stuff she has to go through. So, Heroic Tales number 2, awesome, love it. I'm sticking with this series. I believe Patriarch number 1 is coming relatively soon. We're going to see how many books he can put out in 2026. But good stuff. Love Heroic Tales. You should definitely check it out. Wraith of God number 3 from Aaron Lopresti. Now, I've talked about, and I think I did a full review video of Wraith of God. So what you have is it's set sort of in the Old West period. The Wraith, all dressed in black. He actually is a little bit reminiscent of, if I can get him over here, a little bit reminiscent of the Phantom Rider or Ghost Rider, as the case may be, although he's all in black. Very different kind of origin and character, though. It's definitely not sort of a takeoff of that character. He hunts supernatural menaces in the Old West, and this one has him going to really back to his origins. So we learn a little bit more about where he comes from, but it involves witchcraft. It involves a headless horseman. It involves some really amazing art. Obviously, Aaron Lopresti, one of the best in the business. You can see from that right there. And so they've got to figure out a way to stop this headless horseman who has been brought back from the grave by a witch who wants revenge on the people of a town. But again, we're also learning about the Wraith's background, his childhood, and sort of where he comes from, and maybe where the inspiration for him to go fighting the bad was. Oh, John says, yes, Patriarch 1 is next. Awesome. Yeah, because that's a great, dude, John, that's a great character. It really is. When that one came out, again, it's like, well, this dude's a comic book fan, but can he write a comic book? You never know. And I got Heroic Tales number 1. I'm like, well, got to check it out though. Got to see. And it's like, oh, dude, this is really good. This dude knows what he's doing, man. It's a great character with great side characters. And it's the kind of character, it's the kind of character we need nowadays. It's in the vein of classic Superman. It's the hopeful character, but also does not, the stories get a little rough at times in Heroic Tales. It's not like, it's not Silver Age, by any means. It goes a little further than, Bronze and Copper Age, in certain ways, but it still has that heroic thing, going that I think people need these days quite a bit. Hell, at least I do, I don't know. Are we going to get kids back into comic books? You never know. I mean, they're buying vinyl again, so anything's possible. But I know as an old guy who's sort of watching the world tumble into chaos around him, I could use a little hope now and then. And I think you get that there. So here we go. Wraith of God, number 3. Now the last one had a backup story. This one does not. This one, you just get Wraith, but you do in the end, you get a few items here of things coming up from Aaron Lopresti. The Primal Zone is going to be a barbaric magazine with lots of cool stuff in it. What does he say? Carson and Celia battle dinosaurs, cavemen, and the evil plans of the ruler. Additional stories by David Williams and Dan Lawless make this a can't miss first issue. We got something about Carter Wesley in pursuit of his family's killers in 1883. We got Kit Carter and Merv, the Astro Chimp, going after Astro zombies. Dude, Kit Carter was an amazing book, and it was beautiful. In fact, when I was going over my favorite comics for 2025, my first thought was Kit Carter, and then I looked, I'm like, oh, that was 2024. Okay, well, that one's but it was just so well done. Ion Chance is quickly populating the Earth with superheroes and villains, but what is his ultimate goal? Can Imperius stop him in time? So Aaron's doing some superhero stuff too. Royce Falcon and Del Omega are most unlikely of teammates, but their flimsy alliance is held together by a new threat. Can they find a way to make to work together, make a living, and save the universe? So basically, he's popping out some stuff here that's coming. Another Wraith story as well. So, dude, good stuff. Good stuff coming from Aaron Lopresti and Empire Comics. I know I always have to think. I almost said Compass, and I'm like, no. That's Graham Nolan. But at any rate, Wraith of God, Heroic Tales #2, high recommendation for both of these books. Again, it's just good comics. I mean, it's not profound. It's just, this is solid comic book art and storytelling. And there's a lot of that in the indie sphere. And of course, look at my video from last week. You could see my thoughts on a lot of the stuff that's coming out. And I got some cool stuff coming. I got that David Damakian. All of a sudden, my brain just went, how do you pronounce that for sure? He's got a Kolchak book coming out. I think those are being shipped soon. I got some cool stuff from David Hartman coming as well that I'm looking forward to. So, man, the indie comic space, I know, look, people get upset about crowdfunds and things not being fulfilled, and it happens. I think we're starting to sift through to the folks who deliver. Most of the stuff that I've ordered has been delivered. They did a good job with it. And they've delivered on several different projects at this point. So I'm definitely finding who I trust. Hey, look, things can happen, obviously. A creator could have a health issue right in the middle of things. Stuff happens. You just have to deal with that. We're not talking Marvel and DC Comics where, if Chris Claremont suddenly had to go to the hospital for months with something, they can find other authors, other writers, other, or pencilers, and if it was an artist, to come in and finish books for him. You're just not dealing with that in the indie sphere. But a lot of good stuff's coming out, and I think it's coming out more regularly than a lot of people want to think. So, don't pass this stuff up, man. Don't pass this stuff up. All right, let's start looking at some of the toys from 2025 that I managed to purchase this year. Actually, no, let me stop before I do that. A couple little things from Christmas that I got that I wanted to show off because they were sort of nerd adjacent for sure. Actually, this is one I got myself. Chris Starr finally showed up. I finally got him opened. This is a great friggin' figure. Now, this is from 2023, so it's not going to show up in any of these videos, but they did a really fantastic job with this one, which is why I wanted it, because I thought it just plain looked cool. But my aunt got me a Nighthawk. Love this dude. Of course, I love the one from the Squadron Supreme, from their mini-series, or kind of a maxi series, 12 issue. Love that one. But, dude, I love this dude. Love the Defenders. So very happy to get this one. This cape, though, holy moly. I mean, putting this guy anywhere is going to be tricky because he's going to take up a little bit of space. And then my daughter got me the Star Trek game. This is going to get its own video review here because I've already opened it up, and there are some amazing screw-ups on the board, like misspellings and things. It's pretty fantastic. Here we got, like, I don't know, I think McCoy and Scotty got into a transporter accident, but this is one I've wanted for a while, obviously, because I'm a Trekkie. Oh, wait, Trekker. Am I supposed to say Trekker? I always said Trekkie. I don't know. But anyhow, going to do a video on this one at some point. It's pretty amazing. Can't wait to get into that. All right, so that was part of my Christmas haul. Other than that, got some soaps, which I guess my family's telling me I stink. Got some food, got some Hickory Farms, so I was pretty happy. So let's look at some toys. Let's look at some toys that have popped up this year that some of them are going to be among my favorites. Some of them are just going to be cool, but not among my favorites. Yeah, Microtron's lurking up there. We're going to take a look at him in a minute. But first, man, I had to do a little searching to get these, and I didn't get all five, or were there six? Yeah. You know what occurs to me? I think I got Lois in a box back there. That sounds terrible. Superman's going to come after me. But I don't think I grabbed her. I was so unorganized this morning trying to grab all this stuff and put it together. But these were from, I think it's Spin Master. Yeah, Spin Master. They did these toys based on the old movies. We got the Gene Hackman, Lex Luthor. We got good old General Zod. Now, they did 2 versions of Jor-El, different paint jobs on them. And there's old Superman. Now, they're not super good likenesses of the actors. Obviously, you have to pay for that. But I just loved the idea of these. Now, they did some for the 89 Batman that frankly looked awful. Otherwise, I was probably going to grab those too. This is, this guy's got a mixed media cape. That's very cool. But these are the ones where you go, like, why did these not exist? Why? Oh, yes, I did get some cool tees as well. Why did these not exist back in the 1970s? Now, you did get Mego-style action figures, but once Star Wars popped, you would have thought everybody was going to be aiming for something. Well, and a lot of them did. I mean, you did get some figures of that kind with the black hole, things like that. But why not Superman? They could have sold the hell out of these. The hell out of these back then. They would have been so cool. Well, we didn't get them, but we got them now in 2025. Got to say, these are some of my favorites. Really just because I like the collectibles that look really, really, really good, right? That look like the characters or what have you. But I really like stuff that's very, as they say, toyetic. Stuff that looks like the toys we played with back when we were kids. And frankly, you could pop these open and kids could play with these. I have no doubt about it. They look like they're in, they look as rugged as the old Star Wars figures and G.I. Joes that we used to play with. So Spin Master, some really awesome stuff from there. I wish the Batman figures had looked better, but they look just kind of bizarre. Now, there were some really cool Batman figures in this size range. I didn't get them, but I'm trying to think who did those. But they had it like so Batman could, you could replace him, his cape and arms, so it looked like he was doing the thing where he has the cape way out, like in the beginning of the Batman movie, when he's going after those crooks on the rooftop. Where are you there? Okay, there's Karza. Okay, we also got some cool Micronaut stuff from Super 7 this year. This guy's, he's definitely, we'll see, he's in my running for favorite figure of the year. Why? Because again, you go, this is a toy I would have played with as a kid. He's just, and it's that aesthetic. It's that sci-fi aesthetic of the time that is pretty much lost. It's gone now. We don't have this anymore. I don't think it's coming back. At most, it comes back in the form of parody. But then we got, Force Commander and Baron Karza. Karza was one of the first wave. He's in the second wave with Microtron. And of course, we got Biotron. These are great little figures. Again, now, it's funny. They're toys based on toys. So they're not toys based on a movie or what have you, like they often do. But I think they did a really good job with these. They got the look right. Just the super colorful plastic, the kind of minimalist design. It's great stuff. Pretty good movement on these things too. No, that didn't come up. You got little pieces that come off. I guess it's sort of a nod to the Micronauts, which were, you could kind of take those things apart, put them together. So I've definitely enjoyed these. Hoping they get some more waves in. I know I've heard some people say they don't know if Super 7 is long for this world. I hope that's not the case, because there have been some quality issues, and there have been some pricing issues with them, which I admit, but they still make some really cool stuff that nobody else is doing. And add to that, Zartan, Cold Slither Zartan. Now, they did an Ultimates line with the rest of the Dreadnoks and the band. That looked pretty cool. But I was happy just to get this one. I got some old G.I. Joes. I collected that first wave of them back in 82. So, I thought, well, dude, how many more people are going to create this right? And this is probably your one chance to get a Cold Slither Zartan from the cartoons. So I went for it. So that's what we had from Super 7. That's what I had from Super 7 this year. Obviously, they were producing other stuff. And Microtron just, I don't know what it is. He ended up on my desk. And it's like I'm drawn to this thing. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's not purely nostalgia because I didn't, have a lot of Micronauts when I was a kid. I certainly didn't have him. I think it's a nostalgia for just that sort of time period and the design of that time period. So he's high on my rankings this year for sure. Let's look at some Marvel Legends. So I kind of showed him a second ago. Here I'm hitting the camera again. We got, Phantom Rider. I generally just call him Ghost Rider. We got Dr. Doom over here. Now, these are both cool figures. They look great. Look fantastic, right? I dig them. Here's the problem. The problem is this cape. There's only so much you're going to be able to do posing this guy because of this stiff cape. And it's even more so with Dr. Doom. Now, again, great looking figure. They did a nice job on it. But not only do you have the really stiff cape for this guy, you also have the stiff tunic. So can you get this guy like he's sitting in a throne being Dr. Doomy? Honestly, you really probably can't. These aren't going to fold. So I think this is a case where they would have been much better served to go mixed media. And I've done a little looking around to see if somebody out there makes some basic sort of capes, cloth, that you could replace on these figures. Because I have found those for example, here's one of the old Secret Wars figures, Dr. Doom. And there are people out there who will make capes that you can actually put if you want to have a cape for your Dr. Doom. Of course, he came without the cape back in the day. But if you want him, so people make capes for old Secret Wars figures. But we don't got capes. From what I can tell from Marvel Legends. If anybody knows somebody out there that does that, I'd love to replace these because I think you could get a much better range of movement. So that kind of keeps these guys out of my running for favorites, even though, again, they are really well done. We also got this year from that range. Oh, yeah, here we go. We got Spidey from the old TV series. From what, 77? Yeah, Japanese Spider-Man was 78. This was a tough one to get. I've complained about this already a few times, but basically ordered it via Walmart. They canceled my order the day it's supposed to ship. I'm kind of like, well, I guess I'm not getting this dude. I guess he was hard to come by. And then he pops up on Amazon, and now it seems like you can get this thing everywhere. I'm wondering if they lost a shipment and then found it. I don't know. But very cool figure. Love that old TV show. I just finished watching the complete well, no, I take that back. It's not complete, but I've watched now most of the Japanese Spider-Mans that I can kind of get my hands on. Man, it's a fun show. I mean, I know it's not Peter Parker. He's got a giant robot, what have you. They do such a great job though with the action scenes and him climbing walls and, sticking to ceilings and knocking people out. One of the negatives of the show in the 70s in America was it was kind of slow moving, which, is not exactly what you want when you're talking about Spider-Man. Slow moving is not really on the menu. We got Silver Surfer this year. This is just a fantastic looking figure. Really, really cool. I think they did a good job of kind of chroming him out. Because granted, if you polish silver, yeah, you'll get a really bright shine. If you don't, silver is actually, not as shiny as like chrome. He's the Silver Surfer, but it's like, well, yeah, but you want him to really have that shining, gleaming appearance that he had in the comic books. So speaking of Lee and Kirby and their designs, But this is a great figure. This is definitely one of my faves this year. It's simple, right? It's simple. And that's kind of the trick with some kinds of figures, is when they're simple, sometimes it's hard to get them quite right. What do we got? Oh, speaking of Avengers from Space, ROM, Space Knight. This was early in the year. Oh, this is such a good figure. They did a really fantastic job with it. Just been reading some. The Salbusim art is so good in a lot of these. This is another one definitely in my list of favorites this year. One of those toys I never had as a kid. I would have loved to have had. Now it's been reproduced, and they did a great job. He was one of the reasons, too, that I wanted to get Chris Starr, because there's that sort of Marvel toy-based comic thing going there. And, of course, Micronauts as well. And I'm hoping some of the Marvel Micronauts somehow end up in that line. We'll see if that manages to happen. So that was an early one for me, and I really enjoyed it. She-Hulk in the Fantastic Four gear. I like it. I would have liked the appearance to be, I don't know. It's pretty close, but it doesn't quite capture the burned look for me. But it's not bad. The hair, big shock of hair. They did a great job with that. Such a fun character, though. I was a huge fan. Like I said, I got the comic books back in the day, because they were like 25 cents, in the bins. They didn't sell super well, and neither did Ms. Marvel, and neither did Spider-Woman. They did okay, but they didn't do great. And so I was like always hard up for cash. So I was like, okay, 25 cents for a book, dude, I'm doing it. And I really dug She-Hulk. And then, of course, John Byrne takes control of the character and really makes her into, a much bigger star for Marvel than she otherwise would have been. She's sexy and she's funny and she kicks butt. It was just a Byrne thing. He was good at doing that kind of thing with characters. So this was one. I didn't get the one in the Avengers sort of costume that she wore there. And I was like, shoot, man, I wish I'd grabbed one of those. This one came up and I had to go for it. And I actually stupidly managed to order it twice. So I actually have another one of those, if anybody's interested. Ghost Rider, speaking of. Ghost Rider, great looking figure, very cool. The jaw moves on the skeleton, on the skull. You got all sorts of good little ditties. Now, the negative for me on this one was, boy, I wish it was the classic costume, and I really wish he had his motorcycle. But, I'm going to grab it because he's a cool character. It's a good look on that. Look at that flaming skull. They did a nice job on that. And then what gets revealed coming out in January? The classic look and the motorcycle. And I'm like, oh, jeez. So this dude might just end up on eBay. We'll see. Because I think I'm going to go for that more classic one that I really deep down wanted. Wish I'd known about that prior to this guy coming out. But nice stuff. Let's see. Was that all I had from them? Yeah, so that's the Marvel Legends stuff that I picked up this year. I think favorite among all of them is probably ROM. And this dude would have been that cape, though. I'm just not thrilled with. In terms of looks, though, that's such a great friggin' look. Again, similar to the Wraith of God character. It's just a winning concept, the face mask. And you've got some characters like that in old B Westerns. Sometimes early images of the Lone Ranger looked a little bit more like that as well. Not quite, but a little bit more like that. And I think there's an old Zorro where he had a sort of a face mask thing. Or like a cloth bandana that covered the face. Because I think I used it. I made a really, really cheap Photoshop of that character with Abbott and Costello because I wanted to torment Aaron Lopresti because he can't stand the Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. So I threw out something about Wraith of God meets Abbott and Costello. Any rate, so I found that picture, and I want to say that was a Zorro character. Anyhow, all right, let's scoot some of these guys out of the way. Because, boy, space is at a premium here on Dad's desk. Dad's desk of pop culture. And let's make some room for the DC heroes. Obviously, primarily from McFarlane. Actually, before I do that, let's look at a non-DC. Couple of them. Ooh, there we go. Masters of the Universe, they did some Thundercats figures. And they kind of do a mashup. She had initially armor, etc. You can strip all that armor off, though, and get down to an actual Thundercat figure. And, of course, being a guy who was, a young teen in the 80s, obviously I had a thing for Chitara. I mean, who couldn't? So I went ahead and grabbed that one. They also had like a humanoid battle cat, I think was one of them. And they had like a Lion-O figure as well. Anyways, I grabbed this one, and getting that friggin' like more Masters of the Universe stuff off of this figure was a nightmare. But I did finally manage it. And I gotta say, it's a really good Chitara figure. It just looks great. Very cool. Really like this one. Very happy I got it. Oh, dude, there's a Super 7 I forgot. That would be Svengoolie in his coffin. Of course, it's just a cardboard little box. But very cool. Big Svengoolie fan. We watch it most Saturdays in this household, although I have to admit I did not watch the Humanoids one they just did yesterday because, man, that's a terrible movie. Like, it's terrible to the point that it's hard to even make fun of the thing. It's just plain bad. All right, let's look at some McFarlane DC stuff. We'll start off with the Super Friends. Whoops, here I am banging the damn camera again. So I'm not trying to collect all of these. I'll move a couple more over here off camera so they're handy. I'm going for the Super Friends that I particularly liked. Now, I did a video earlier this year where I was looking at Green Lantern and Rom, because they both came out around the same time. The Hal Jordan Green Lantern from Super Friends was one of my absolute favorite characters of all time. Absolutely loved him. He was the character we fought over on the playground to get to be when we played Super Friends, which is weird. You'd think it'd be Superman. You'd think Batman. It's Green Lantern, man, because he could make all this cool stuff with his ring. Now, I also was a big fan, laugh if you will, of Aquaman from Super Friends. The dude taught me how to make a tambourine out of paper plates and beans. And for that, I am eternally thankful. So I grabbed him. Now, he just got delivered maybe a couple weeks ago. But the standout for me this year of these figures, and I did manage to get Jaina and Gleek, has not been delivered yet. Don't know when that's coming. But the standout for me was the cheetah. And the reason was the face sculpt. The face sculpt on this thing is insanely good. It does look very, very much like the one from the cartoon. They did just a fantastic job on this thing. Like, better than they needed to, in my opinion. Really. Kind of looks like an evil Lee Merriweather. Am I wrong there? This is like among my favorites for this year. And it's that face sculpt. And speaking of great face sculpts, here's one that I didn't really need to buy, but I couldn't resist it. And this is the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman. Again, we can get the focus here. Come on, baby. Come on. Focus. There we go. That's a little better. Okay. Just look at that. When I saw the image of this thing, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, again, because this is not like an expensive Hot Toys figure, something like that. This is a very affordable figure. Obviously, they paid for her likeness, and they got it right. they did a fantastic job. Now, I am not a huge fan of Batman Returns, I will admit. And the main reason is I could not stand the Danny DeVito Penguin character in it. I could not stand it. But I loved Catwoman. I loved her as Catwoman. She did a fantastic job. If we could have just, sort of excised the Penguin from that film, I would have been happy. And I know it is a very popular film in the Batman series, so I'm sort of alone on this one, but maybe not completely alone. Now, we also got a very cool Batgirl. Now, again, cloth capes, but they do make them posable. They have the wires. That would be a nice thing to do with those Marvel Legends figures, frankly. Something they might want to think about. I don't know. Maybe it's cost prohibitive. Could be. But we got a very cool Barbara Gordon Batgirl. Couldn't resist that one. We got a couple Supermen. Same kind of capes. We got a Golden Age sort of Max Fleischer Superman. And we got a Silver Age Superman. Nice job on these. The heads feel a little small. I will say that. I think they could I think they need to ramp that head size up just a tad on these guys. But I think they did a pretty good job of trying to get the look where it looks like he's kind of squinting. But that, obviously not on that character because that's not Silver Age Superman. We got the great spit curl going and all that kind of stuff. Hey, Raimi, what's cooking, man? Yes, he was unpleasant. Oh, Penguin. Yeah. Yeah. God, I didn't like that. I kind of started disliking Taxi, like retroactively, because of his performance in that Batman movie, which I grant you is insane, but there you have it. So let's stack our Supermen. And we got a couple more. We got, from their superpower set, we got the Jay Garrick Flash, which I really, really, really loved. They did a great job. You got the boots, wings on the helmet, etc. Big fan of the old Flash. And I've actually got a fairly decent little collection of Justice Society characters. And then we got the Guardian. Now, Guardian was a Jack Kirby, Joe Simon character, basically when they left Timely for, I guess, National Comics at the time. He's Captain America. He's essentially Captain America. So, but it was cool that they put this one out. Let's see if we can get close. Yeah, that not too bad. Now, the one negative here is the shield. Now, when you're talking about DC, remember how DC had, we have to do the Crisis on Infinite Earths because it's confusing to have all these different Earths and these different heroes, and we just can't have that. We just can't have that. We've got to do something about it. And here we are all these years afterwards, which, by the way, I was never a fan of Crisis. I didn't like it. I liked a lot of those characters. I kind of liked the idea of having the Earth 1 and Earth 2. But now, there's like 4,000 variations on every freaking character in the DC universe. So I don't know what they ever accomplished with doing that. I mean, I know they undid it at a certain point, but yeah, it's like they've gone a million times more extreme than they had it in the 1980s. So this is probably a different version of Guardian. Sorry, I had to take a little drink there. So this is probably a different version of the character, but I would have loved a Golden Age shield, and I would have liked a bigger shield. I think that's the bigger problem. Even if this shield was just a bit larger, I think it would work a little bit better. I have thought about just taking some card stock, cutting it in the shape of the Golden Age, because the Golden Age shield was sort of round with a little square, rectangular bit on top. Doing something like that, just putting some gold paint on it or something and seeing if I could put this on the character. I don't know that I'm ever going to do that, but Guardian was a very cool character. I'm going to do a year one of Guardian relatively soon, mostly because I've done Captain America, and I sort of wanted to just do a compare and contrast of Guardian and Captain America. So that's going to be coming up in 2026. Actually, my first video, non-live video 2026, is going to be Doctor Strange Year One. Looking forward to that. Need to record it today, as a matter of fact. And I just prepped Captain Marvel Year One. We're talking, of course, the guy they like to call Shazam nowadays. All right. So what are probably my favorite characters or favorite figures for this year? Well, let's see. Let's start stripping a few away that are not definitely on my list. Sorry, Dr. Doom, that's you. You're not quite there for me. Oh. And neither is this Ghost Rider, although, boy, if not for that cape, he probably could have been. That was a near thing. That was a very near thing. You are an old Secret Wars figure, so let's get you out of the way, because you're not part of this. You're not a part of this, my friend. Close one. It was a fun story for trying to get this thing. And I really am glad I have it, because I have the Japanese Spider-Man as well. So I got both the live action dudes. And, oh, please give us a Reb Brown Captain America. Please, I beg of you, give us Reb Brown. I don't know. Maybe he's holding out or something on him. I don't know. Don't know really why he would. Dig Superman. But he's not among my favorites this year. Either one of them. I do really like him, though. Let's see. I think, again, if I have to say what my absolute favorite is, it in fact is Microtron. Oh, and there's one guy standing off camera that I forgot about already, who is in my top. Well, I think he's actually my second favorite, so I might as well bring him out right now. I'm looking now. I made a list so I could gather my thoughts. I'm looking at it now. So I think my number 2 favorite this year, and again, this is a character who's very toy oriented, not just a collectible figure, but it is, in fact, Gargon, who is based on an old character from the Super Joes and the Joe. Oh, what was it? There's Super Joe, and then there's Adventure Squad, Action Squad. God, I'm forgetting now. This is produced by White Elephant Toys, and they just did an awesome job. They did an awesome job with the sculpt. It's a very simple one. Very simple movements going. But this is, again, another character where this guy could be played with by a bunch of kids, and I think he would stand up to it. One of the things I've been super impressed with from White Elephant Toys is the quality. It's the quality. They make some really, really sturdy toys, even though they are essentially collectibles. They're for adults. They're going to be on shelves. They don't have to be this sturdy, but they are this sturdy. It's one of the reasons that I was happy to fund their crowdfund this year for the Lincoln Mini Monsters. So let's put Gargon to the side, though, because Gargon does take up a little bit of room. Sorry about that, Silver Surfer. So he is on my list. I think he's my second favorite. Number 3, I think I got to put Catwoman. Just because what an amazing sculpt. Just what an amazing piece of work that was. And right up with her has got to be the Cheetah for the same reason. I don't know who the sculptor was on those. I do not know, but they did a fantastic job. Let's get the other Micronauts out of the way. They're all cool, but Microtron is my guy for sure. My number 1. You are my number 1 guy. Let's see, what else did I put on my list? Yeah, Surfer's number 7. Okay, sort of in my last place, though, are those Superman 78 figures. Again, I love stuff that looks like honest to God toys from back in the day. Oh yeah, Batgirl number 6, Batgirl number 6, Silver Surfer in number 7. I don't think She-Hulk made my list this year. She was close though. She was close. But I don't know if I just could have gotten, I don't know. I just wanted it to be a little bit more John Byrne She-Hulk than it was. They got close though, and I give them credit for that. Let's get rid of Aquaman, as they like to call him back in the 60s, when Ted Knight was doing all that stuff. Aquaman speeds to the Hall of Justice. Mm-hmm. We got Chitara in here for sure. Rom, Catwoman, Silver Surfer. And this is where I've really got to make some room. All right, let's get you over here. Let's get the two cheetahs together with the other Catwoman. Rom, you sit up here. Hang out with Silver Surfer. Let's get Gargon in here. I think these are my favorites for this year, along with the Jay Garrick Flash. Let's get you in there too. All right. I think these are my favorite ones that I've got this year. Great sculpts on these things. And some of them just because, frankly, they just look like toys that we would have played with, that we could have played with, that we should have had way back when in that style. Ramey, I hear you on Super 7. I've only gotten a few. I got the Micronauts. I think Zartan's the only of the G.I. Joes I've gotten. I think it's decent quality, but it's not the ultimate. And I think the ultimate figures are where they've had bigger problems with that because of the price point. And people are expecting higher quality, and they're absolutely 100% right to expect that quality. But I thought the, this at this size, it's a different kind of plastic than you got with the original Joes, which, let's be honest, most of those original Joes are missing thumbs because of the plastic they used. But I think it's pretty good quality for what it is as an O-ring figure at this size range. Mostly though, I've gotten the Svengoolie, gotten a couple monsters. I've gotten a Godzilla. I don't buy a lot of Super 7. And I think the main reason is because, the pricing. I mean, $20 is a little bit steep for a 3 3/4 inch figure. I mean, keep in mind, Spin Master was putting these guys out for $10. Okay, they're maybe doing larger runs, but how large a run are they doing for 1978 Superman figures? Are kids going to be running to buy those? No, just collectors. I'd love it if Super 7 could have gotten those prices down. Now, they've actually raised them since then a bit, so that's probably not going to happen. But there you go. So there we go. There's my top action figures, I think, of 2025 that I got. I'm pretty happy with all of these. They just sort of, I don't know, they sort of hit you a certain way. Let's finish things up here by looking at the beauty of Stan Lee. I couldn't resist. By the way, that's the Batman versus Hulk comic book that he's using to cover himself. They are putting out a facsimile of that this year. Dude, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. Holy God, is the art beautiful in that thing. It's one of my absolute favorites. It is so good. Okay, let's look at some new releases, new campaigns that are coming down the pike in the near future, or maybe some that are already out for pre-order. As with this one, this is from Running Press. It is an 18-inch tall inflatable Mr. Stay Puft that you can put on your desk. Now, it plugs into your computer with a USB cord. So, presumably, it's like the things people put out on their lawns, where you have it plugged in and there's maybe like a little fan that keeps it blown up. So it's maybe not just, like you inflate it yourself, but thought people might find that to be kind of cute. Nothing cute about these, though. Icon Collectibles, along with the Frazetta Girls, is putting out Frazetta Universe figures. Now, basically, these are Masters of the Universe style figures. 5.5 inches tall. Excuse me. Officially announced Death Dealer, which you see right there. And there's what you get with Death Dealer. And, of course, Conan the Barbarian. And that's what you get with Conan. These are going to be up for pre-order, I believe, New Year's Day, January 1st at noon Eastern Standard Time. $38, which is not horrific. It's not a great price point, but, you know, it's not super insane. Tempting on the Conan, but again, I put a lot of money down for those Lincoln Mini Monsters, so I'm kind of slowing my roll here at the beginning of 2026 until those come out. But we'll see. But these are great looking figures. Oh yeah, Ramey was pointing out that the Stan Lee pick was a tribute to the Burt Reynolds Playgirl mag. Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah. I love, you know, again, that's Marvel at that time period. You know, there was a sense of fun, even if Stan was driving some creators insane at the time. They created this sense of fun in the bullpen. You know, you'd have to talk to people from that time period to see if that was how true all that was. I'm sure it was true for some people, and for others, they were kind of PO'd. Obviously, Kirby was pretty PO'd at certain points, but at any rate, yeah, I just, you know, Stan Lee brought a certain energy to things that I don't know if anybody else can ever duplicate that. They also, Frazetta, have a pre-order up for a 1/12 scale Necron figure. Now, they've been doing stuff from Fire and Ice, so this is the latest in that. For $110. If you go to the Frazetta Girls website, you can take a look at it. Some of the close-up stuff is a really, really nice figure. But, you know, at $110, it better be, and it is 1/12 scale. So that is up there now for pre-order. In honor of Tura Santana, had to point out this one, Faster Pussycat Kill Blu-ray can be pre-ordered now at Amazon.com for $40, delivery scheduled for April of 2026. Now, this is the same one that Diabolic DVD had been selling. I think maybe it went out of print. It's sort of back in print. So if it's something you want and that you missed, you might want to go check it out now at Amazon.com for $40. Ramey Butler says he has a new idea for toy companies. Make toys for kids and price them where kids can afford them. That's crazy talk, sir. And that is not going to happen. I mean, look, the reality is, they do make kids toys. I think mostly for the really younger kids, but I don't know, man. I think video games and social media has just kind of erased that period where kids, you know, boys got together and played with Star Wars figures and stuff like that. And it sucks. And maybe it'll come back. And I do like that there's companies who do make, you know, some actually solid toys that kids could conceivably play with, you know. But the thing with toys, though, like outside of Lego and a few others, is, you know, you play with your G.I. Joe figures alone for sure, but it was really cool when you got to play with your friends. You know, they'd bring their G.I. Joes over, you'd have yours. You know, maybe mom would put like a little dot on the bottom of their feet with nail polish so you know whose were whose. And sometimes they'd get swapped and sometimes you'd lose some, but it was still getting everybody together and playing. So it was a group activity. And I think the group activity type stuff is now what you get a lot of times with video games. I think it's kind of replaced it. You know, I mean, look, it sucks for our generation to see things like that pass through. But we're at an age where we're seeing a lot of things pass through. I mean, you know, going to the movies is sort of old fashioned in a way. Who thought that would happen, right? That going to the movies would start to be something that just you don't do really. So, you know, times change. And again, though, people are buying vinyl, so maybe things will change back. I do see a lot of younger people kind of going, you know, like, I'm kind of tired of this. Like, I want something different. I want something more. So who knows? Maybe we'll get there at some point. I wanted to point this out. I only just saw it on Twitter. I think it maybe has like about 15 days left. They've raised a lot of money for it, but it doesn't look like they're going to get to their goal, honestly. But it's an indie effort to make Mighty Orbots toys. The whole Magilla is $300. So that is not a low buy-in. And again, if I hadn't, just popped a lot of money down for something similar, maybe I'd think of doing it, but maybe not. There you see the actual figures. Now, this is the hard part, is that because of the way the Mighty Orbots were drawn, it would be really difficult to make figures of them that could turn into Mighty Orbot, the combined robot character. So you can see these have an odd shape to them, right? They're kind of boxy, so they will form together to make that character. I don't think they could have solved this back in the day either. I think they almost would have just had to produce the robot toys to look like the cartoon characters, and then make a separate, Mighty Orbot. That would be all of them together. But, Rami, we do. But keep in mind, my child is, 27 now. 27. So, she's not little, unfortunately, at this point. She's a big kid. She teaches kindergarten. So, she has kids of her own in a way to deal with. But, believe me, I did cherish it and I miss it too, man. It's tough. It really bugs me when you see people like in movies or whatever, kind of mocking the older than me, but also as old as me. And you're going like, it was never something I was into when I was younger. And I'm like a retro head. I've always said, I was always like an 80-year-old man in a teenager's body. Don't take that the wrong way. So that was never my thing, but it always bugged me because you don't know what they're going through. And now that I'm getting older, I do know what they're going through. And you're seeing all these people that you knew pass away, and so much change and so many things that just aren't there anymore that you thought were stable, reliable. Of course, they're not going away. It kind of sucks. I mean, there's still joy in the world and I'm having a good time. I find the joy out there. I really do. But I feel the pangs, of loss of things. And it's like, you're going to be there yourself someday. A lot of you Utes out there, you may not realize it. But you're going to be there someday too. And then you're going to know. And maybe you'll feel bad that you were kind of a pain in the ass to old people. Maybe not. But, yeah, especially for, they're trying to get it so people can live longer and longer lives, which I guess is cool in a way. Like, if all the people you love are doing that too, you'll be together for longer, although you change over time and you might lose those people anyways in a way. But you're going to see like the world around you changing in just bizarre ways. But Rami, I get you, man. Yeah. And we're not there yet. She's still with us in the house because home and apartment prices are absolutely nuts in Las Vegas. So we still get to hang out with her, when she's not in her bedroom ignoring us. But but at any rate, yeah, I get what you mean for sure. So that's Mighty Orbot. So you might want to go check that out. God, I think it's Kickstarter. Oh, I think it's Kickstarter. But go look for that one. I think it's a pretty cool idea. Glad that they're putting that one together. And I don't think they're going to make it to the finish line with the time they got, but who knows? Maybe they'll get lucky. Maybe, getting stuff out there on places like this. And there's a guy just carpet bombing Twitter right now with this campaign. So maybe that'll get some people into it, but it's a really cool idea. And hopefully they'll be able to realize it. One of these, 4 kids, dude. I'm sure that was hard, but you're also lucky. Yeah, we had hoped to have more, but just didn't work out that way. Okay. Well, I think that does it for the live stream today. Looked at our toys. We talked about a few coming attractions. Said goodbye to Brigitte Bardot. Said happy birthday to a partially nude Stan Lee. I mean, what more can you ask, frankly? And we looked at 2 really great modern comic books. Wraith of God. I know the Gargan's gun is in the way here. Wraith of God #3. Oh my God, he's turned it on himself. No, it's not worth it. And Heroic Tales #2. Good books. Check those guys out. Absolutely worth your time. You didn't end on a bummer. Look, it's part of life, man. Things change. They just do. But again, look at all the cool, fun stuff that is out there still. You just got to look on the bright side, and do your best, man. Just do your best. It's like there's still good stuff out there. So coming this week in Dad's Den, I'm going to do the last of the Justice League Monday reviews. Justice League America, #52, and Justice League Europe, #28. Man, it feels like I just started that. It is insane how quick the year goes when you're doing a lot of weekly videos. On Wednesday, I'm doing a review of Jack Frost from Rankin Bass, a very, very cool, stop motion little show. Kind of forgotten, I think, by a lot of people, but there's some really cool stuff in it. Great design, a little bit of a steampunk thing going too. And then Friday, like I said, first video of the new year, we're looking at the first year of Doctor Strange from Lee and Ditko. We're going to look at the first year of his comics, how the character was set up, how it grew maybe a little bit, what villainy he had to face, etc. In a long series now I've been doing of year ones of different characters. Who have I done? Batman, Avengers, Superman, Golden and Silver Age Flash, Wonder Woman, Captain America, Plastic Man, Phantom Lady, hey lady, and I think that's it that I've done so far. More to come because it is an awesome excuse for me to get to read a bunch of old comic books and put these things together, which I really enjoy. So this will be the last live stream of this year. So everybody, please have a happy New Year's Eve, a happy New Year's Day, an awesome and blessed 2026. It's been a year and we might be in for another one of them, but let's all hang together. Let's all, stay on the positive side if we can. We're going to be talking about cool movies, comic books, etc. on this channel. Join in, chat. I'm trying to make a little group of people who like cool stuff and don't get into, a lot of the fighting type things. But so I hope you have a really great New Year's, everybody. And I'll see you hopefully soon in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. We need it now more than ever, and have a little bit of fun out there. And I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye, folks.